Hey there! Today I'm showing you how to paint these simple watercolor flowers for beginners. I'm starting off by kind of painting a heart shape, and then I'm doing that 3 times and making this triangular heart shape thing, and I'm doing this again and again and again, just a few times to make a few flowers. And that's just the first coat, so those won't be finished like that. That's just the first step, to just make these simple shapes. And then the second step is to make hearts again, were in between of the other hearts. So where there's the space left, you put another heart. And also those don't have to be perfect hearts. And then I'm starting with some kind of sunflower, and I'm just making those simple lines here and doing that over and over again to make a few sunflowers. And that's just the first layer again. And in between all those layers, I'm letting the flowers dry, so I'm just working on them. Whenever something gets dry, I'm working on it again. So here I'm starting off with a lily. I'm doing 2 lilies, and I started with a light pink tone, and now I'm adding a darker pink tone, and I'm doing this wet on wet, so I didn't let the first layer dry there. And you can see that I started a lily on the top of the page as well. And here I'm just doing another of those heart-shaped layers, and if those hearts are absolutely not perfect, it doesn't matter, because those are plants and those kind of need to look organic. You can make them as neat as you want to, but if they look more organic, there's just nothing wrong with that. So I'm adding the second layer to the sunflowers, and that's just a darker tone. It's kind of a brown mixed with a yellow tone. And I'm starting a rose here, where I'm basically just doing those kind of lines and adding more and more around them, just not really trying to make this perfect as well. It's just very loose. I'm really trying to keep it as loose as possible. And I'm starting off in the middle with a light tone, and then it gets darker and darker around it. So I'm starting with a yellow, and then I use an orange, and then on the outside I use a red tone. And you can do this with any kind of color. And then I added another layer to the lilies. It's just those green bits in the middle, and now I'm starting to paint some forget-me-nots, and those are just basically circles, and just blue circles. You can see what I'm doing here. Those are super simple as well. Just make sure that you leave a white dot in the middle, so you can later put in a yellow dot, or just leave it like that, because I think that it looks cute as it is as well. And again, I'm just adding layers whenever the paint is dry. So those are super simple. And the watercolors that I used here is they are a bit opaque, so you can't really see the glazing effect that you could possibly get here. So if you use more transparent colors, you will see all the layers through the paint. So this will look really cool as well. But if you don't have super transparent paints, most of the time the cheaper ones are more opaque. That's not really a problem either. You can see that it looks kind of cool for my painting as well, if you ask me. So, and then I started to do some leaves, and you can practice this on a different sheet if you don't feel comfortable doing this at the moment, and you will get better at this. And it's just it's hard to explain how to do this. You can see it here, and it looks a lot easier than it is, but if you practice it over and over again, you will get the hang of it. Just pressing down super lightly, then a bit more and then super lightly again. And yeah, I did different kinds of leaves and different kinds of colors, and I used my Casaneo brush here. I will link it down below because I really love this brush, but it's kind of expensive, so it's the most expensive brush that I ever gotten. Don't feel like you have to have this in order to do this, because I used super cheap brushes for a long time, and for some of the flowers I used a cheaper brush as well, so you don't have to get this. But if you want to treat yourself to an awesome thing, then I recommend this brush. And I worked on a hana muller watercolor paper, which I really love, so I'm gonna link this down below as well as the watercolors. But you can do this with any kind of supply, so don't feel the need to buy anything in order to do this, because those are super simple flowers and super simple techniques, and you don't have to know anything about it yet. I'm just doing the same thing over and over again to make more and more flowers, and now I'm just creating those dots. I don't know what kind of flowers those are. I just created some dots because I felt the need to add more blue. You can do those in any kind of colors. You can spread around the flowers as you wish them to be, and you can make this your own piece. You don't have to do it exactly like I did it here. I'm just adding those super simple mini flowers as well, because I thought that I'd add some smaller ones as well. A basic tip is to start with the larger flowers at first and then keep adding smaller ones. So start with the larger ones, and then you see where there is a need to add more flowers, and then you can add smaller flowers. And then to pull everything together, I did this kind of background where I added more and more leaves, and I just made those bigger leaves. You can't really tell where the leaf begins and ends and what kind of shape the leaf has, so it's just basically a green dot, and those in different kinds of colors. So those are super simple so that they don't distract from the rest, so they're just basically a background. But I did those in different colors. I used a darker green and a warmer green, and you don't have to use the exact same colors as me. I mixed a lot and I use different kinds of watercolors, so I'm not really mentioning the kinds of colors that I use, because you can customize this as much as you want. And if you want to, you can create a color palette at first, so you can always look at that, make some swatches, so it's easier for you to tell what kinds of colors you want to use, so you don't get confused or you don't end up with too many colors. For me personally, I love colors and there just can't be too many colors, but I always end up kind of having a color palette. You can see it here. It's really colorful, but I don't think that those colors are too much. I think that those really go well together, and that's kind of just an intuitive thing that I do. I'm also a graphic designer and a photographer, and so I know a little thing about colors, so that's kind of natural to me. But if you want to make a palette at first, that's absolutely okay. So this is the finished piece. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know what kind of tutorials you'd like to see in the future. I really wish you a nice week, and until next time, goodbye!